FNAF is a gargantuan series that all started with a last-ditch attempt, but it grew into an absolute beast that changed the world. So obviously not everything can be seen or remembered, but they still have significance, sometimes. And that's what we're exploring today, so let's do it. Let's go, right now. In a 10 false conviction. On an old timeline video, Shauna S commented, quote, "Quick little theory. You know how in the first game it says the killer was convicted for the murders? If that's the case, I think Henry was falsely convicted, but since they couldn't find the bodies, he got 25 to 30 years and got out of prison when Fazbear Frights happened. It explains to me why he wasn't involved in the first few games. I will say I've heard a lot of different information concerning the missing children's incident, so my theory could be wrong, just wanted to put it out there." Honestly, Henry being falsely imprisoned, or at least falsely accused for the missing children's incident does explain a lot. Considering how there were no bodies though, there wouldn't be much forensic evidence. So the case would rely on circumstantial evidence to get a conviction. So the case could have dragged on for a while if it even went to trial. And if it was, it probably would have been going on until 1993 when the future Fazbear Frights location closed with William inside. 30 years is a lot of time for new evidence to come to light as well, and maybe Henry got out even earlier than that but didn't act until William was freed because he didn't really see a point. Well, the whole he was convicted thing could be explained away by Scott not thinking that there would be another game, let alone like 9 others. Maybe he just wanted to have the story of the killer end as well. Who knows? In at 9, the fourth child. Okay, I've proposed the idea that perhaps William and his wife, or baby mama, but most likely for this scenario, wife, would have had 4 kids instead of the 3 that we see in game. This was actually mostly based off The Immortal and the Restless, the TV series from Sister Location, where a woman is telling a character most assumed was meant to represent William that he had a son that was clearly his, but he was denying it. And after looking at genetics and then trying to explain it to people in my life who didn't really understand, it just goes to show how likely the actual scenario is. If the babies came out blonde like Elizabeth, William might just have thought that they weren't his. So what if later William realized that the baby was his and wanted her back? Or perhaps I'm wrong about the whole he denied it thing, and it was just a theory, until a comment from YouTube user Saber Sapphire on the Tiny Details Part 7 video from ages ago. I think we can all agree that Clara is an allegory for Mrs. Afton, and that William made Ballora as a way to cope with her loss. We can also agree that she's a mother figure to the mini-Renas, and that's what got us all thinking that she was meant to be the mother in the first place, aside from her song at least. Well, Saber pointed out that the number of mini-Renas that Ballora has is 4. Ballora has 4 children, and if she is meant to represent the mother of the Afton kids, this detail could solidify this theory even more. And maybe, just maybe, that's where Vanessa came from. In at 8, the Bite of 87. The survival logbook makes yet another unscheduled appearance in my life, but this time either solidifying or making the Bite of 87 even more confusing. The Bite of 87 being the mysterious incident where someone, presumably Jeremy from FNAF 2, gets his frontal lobe bitten off by an animatronic. We thought that we had the animatronic pinned as Mangle, but then Ultimate Custom Night comes along and proposed that maybe it was Toy Chica, using the line, "Where's my beak?" lodged in your forehead, of course. I mean, what else could that frickin' mean, right? However, I think the logbook can actually give us more of an answer as to who done did it. As if we could forget about the incident. That damn thing is ingrained in our brains so bad that we think the Bite of 83 is the Bite of 87, but it's not. Since, on page 87, we see a couple animatronic cage matches, with you determining the winner and then explaining why. On page 86, this is also the case, with both pages having debates between animatronics. However, Mangle is the only one that appears on page 87, and is clearly set up to win, being pitted against Balloon Boy. Chica is also present within these kind of cage matches, but she's on page 86 against Freddy, which is a much more fair matchup, okay? Maybe, like, is this Scott correcting us from what we thought in Ultimate Custom Night? I don't know, maybe. Tell me what you think in the comments. And at 7, Springtrap's Revenge. Yet another questionable business decision from Fazbear Entertainment. Springtrap's Revenge is a VR game that is the subject of the Fazbear Frights story in the flesh from Bunny Call, the 5th book in the series. The story revolves around a game theorist, a developer named Matt, who creates a Springtrap AI using all of his anger from a divorce and multiple failed relationships. #relatable. However, the game is too difficult, so instead Matt reprograms the game to torture Springtrap because he gets mad at the character he created. My question is though, why would they make a whole VR game around surviving Springtrap when he was a real life serial killer killer in their reality. I don't get it. Like, sure, in our world we wouldn't care, because he's not real, but it's not like Valve or Stress Level Zero is making a Ted Bundy or like John Wayne Gacy survival game, okay? Because that would be in poor taste and way too real for anyone related to the victims of those killers. So, why would Fazbear Entertainment willingly make a video game revolving around the killer that ruined their reputation in the first place, not to mention was their CEO? It seems like a horrible idea. And it has greater implications for just how the series is in general. It's stupid. Why? Who would buy that? Probably everyone. And it's 6 Mediocre Melodies. Okay, now this isn't entirely new news, or news at all at this point, but we learned the origins of the Mediocre Melodies crew, alright? What seemed like random additions in FNAF 6 were actually set up 3 games earlier. FNAF 3's Night 4 Phone Calls has Phone Guy talking about multiple and simultaneous Springlock failures occurring at a sister location. This isn't the place that we visit in that game, but rather just another Fazbear location, where he says that, quote, the company has deemed the suits temporarily unfit for employees, and that the classic suits are being retired to an appropriate location while being looked at by our technician. Until replacement arrives, you will be expected to wear the temporary costumes provided to you. Keep in mind they were found on very short notice, so questions about appropriateness and relevance should be deflected. And while that could have been just some like crappy knockoff Frank Fazbear costumes from AliExpress or from like Spirit Halloween, the line of questions about relevance should be deflected seems to point that they aren't the normal Fazbear crew. And you know what? That would be the Mediocre Melodies. I mean, come on, his name is Ned Bear. Also, if you're enjoying this video and want to see more FNAF, because I know you all want to, you all love when we talk about FNAF, and none of you think that we're doing it too much, be sure you hit like and subscribe, because come on, it's fun. I yell a lot. It's my whole thing. Halfway through into number 5, Matpat Is Canon, kinda. Thanks to the Fazbear Frights book Bunny Call, and more so, like I said, the story in the flesh, Matpat is basically canon in the FNAF universe. Like, sure, it's kinda nuts that, in essence, Scott wrote an Mpreg fanfic about Matpat, but the crazier thing is that it makes Matpat canon in FNAF, technically, since his name isn't Matthew Patrick, and he's working on a new FNAF game, not a new FNAF theory, but he's basically Matpat's in-universe stand-in, alright? Like, while game theory or Daco may not be canon, the essence of Matpat is canon, and he ended up getting killed by a plush trap baby that crawled his way out of his stomach. Yeah, I haven't finished that story, and I don't think I ever will because I was cringing so hard, but I don't understand how working on a video game turns into an animatronic crawling out of your stomach, killing you instantly, but hey, it's FNAF, and we've had people be possessed by video games, so who knows at this point? Anything is fair game. And you know what, if Choo Choo Charles shows up, that's just par for the course. And this is also yet another instance of someone escaping from a game and entering the real world, and I don't want to deal with that. And there's also the one instance of someone saying it's just a theory, and then the book pointing out that they say it like their favorite YouTuber. So yeah, Matpat and game theory are canon in the FNAF world. Or maybe game theory is like a true crime theory podcast, where the host at the end says it's just a theory to avoid any legal issues. Also, fun fact, I didn't know what Mpreg fanfic meant until I had to look it up for this video. My sister told me. I was ashamed. In at 4, Cover Shadow. A while ago, I purchased the Freddy Files Updated Edition book, okay, in an effort to get more details and really find what things seem to be the most important about the series. It's an excellent place to find confirmed details, but one thing I noticed a while after getting the book was that there's a shadow on the front cover. If you look closely, or if you just actually can see what's going on, unlike me, you can actually make out the shape of a Freddy standing behind you, which I have to say is pretty damn terrifying, because this implies that basically anyone who learns about the Fazbear secrets because of this book, which is prevented like secret files on the cover, will get got by Freddy. Yeah, this makes me think that there is certainly something more to this company, definitely something more shady that we weren't considering or aren't considering or that just hadn't been presented yet. But it's still, it could not, it might not be that deep, but let's be honest, it's Scott, it probably is. So yeah, this one cover shadow shows us that Fazbear Entertainment is ready to silence anyone who learns too much for any reason, which is why I'm still alive. Getting close to the end in number 3, Crash to Desktop. Golden Freddy is the most mysterious animatronic of FNAF 1, okay? being able to move through closed doors while staying limp with no endoskeleton and can even cause hallucinations like It's Me and Eyeless Bonnie, along with changing posters on the frickin' walls. I originally figured that they could do all this because of other emotions, but why would they crash us to the desktop when they jump scare us? It's a weird moment, especially the first time, but it's certainly going to crash you whenever you get killed by this freaky fiend, so it definitely means something. But this does have bigger implications than we originally thought, since now the series is about video games interacting with the real world apparently, and even FNAF World actually had those themes, setting up clock clues for the FNAF 3 good ending, but this is the first instance of FNAF interacting with kind of reality, and it's our reality, like not the in-game reality that we would assume. Maybe. Cause you know what? This also happens with Nightmare in FNAF 4. So my thinking was, is this symbolic of death? And you know what? Since Golden Freddy is more than likely just a hallucination, be sure you check out the video on that over there if you want more about it. Could this just be symbolic of like your brain or your heart giving out under intense stress? I think so. That's it, yeah. But ultimately, in number 2, Hanging Scientists. The sister location Hanging Scientists weren't there before they're revealed to us, because it's meant to show us that Ennard is able to kill and is willing to kill anyone to get his way. But that also means that there were other people working here while we were there during sister location. I don't know why there were, since it was literally filled with deadly animatronics, and the only reason we were sent there was to put her back together like William had somehow asked us to do. But like, why were there other people there? Was the business still running? Is that what Chica's Party World was? Cause like, we know that they had been renting out animatronics, but why were there so many still there? Especially when they were only used for like a day. I mean, like, we know why Baby wasn't rented out, but the others? I don't know. It's weird. But hey, I'm not here to judge how someone runs their business, but also that's exactly what I've been doing with every new FNAF list recently, okay? Just blasting William and Henry for their various OSHA and just human decency violations. So yeah. And finally, in number 1, Scraptrap. What happened to Springtrap between games to cause such discrepancies in his design? Sure, he was burnt in FNAF 3, but we then see him alive and well and then not damaged in Sister Location's Night 7 ending cutscene with burnt down Fazbear's Fright. So where did all this additional damage and warping and expanding come from? The head seems to be larger on Scraptrap, and so do his feet, so I genuinely don't know how this would make any sense, or at least I didn't. We know that they were the same person thanks to Ultimate customized voice lines, but I was so confused as to what could have happened until it recently dawned on me. In my What If Golden Freddy Was a Hallucination video, like I've already linked to it, I talked about how that would mean that FNAF 4 was a game made by Scott's in-universe version, since the nightmare aesthetic could be to avoid copyright issues. And considering how everyone who should have known about the scrap animatronics should have died at the end of Pizzeria Simulator, but then the scrap animatronics show up in other games like Ultimate Custom Night and even FNAF VR, in a sense, it makes me think that these characters are less than real, and that the discrepancies between Springtrap to Scraptrap to Burntrap are just because Scraptrap is a fake animatronic, or well, it's a redesign of Springtrap to avoid copyright when Scott was working on his in-universe games, or at least when Scott's in-universe counterpart was making the games. And his deal with Fazbear Entertainment caused the nightmares to be able to be present in Help Wanted, which wouldn't really make sense if they were real nightmares of a deathbed crying child. Plus, I think that we can all get nightmares from FNAF now, and if you want to see why I do, be sure you click the video that's about to pop up on your screen. Thanks for watching.